talk a little bit about your experience today, if that's cool. You down
Great.
for that?
Yeah.
Great. So Hannah, take me back to before you joined us for Presence Under Pressure. What were you going through in your professional day-to-day? What were some of your goals or challenges related to what we cover in the course?
Sure. So I'm employment counsel at a tech company. I joined the company at the end of March, so about 6 months before I joined your program. And all of my meetings are virtual. I have met very few people in person, so everything that I'm communicating has to come through a screen. I was feeling really comfortable and fairly confident in situations where I had prepared in advance. If I was giving a presentation, if I knew exactly kind of what the script was, I had anticipated questions, I could go in feeling really prepared. I was having a harder time feeling like I was channeling the kind of presence that I wanted to have in meetings where I didn't know what people were going to ask me. And I have meetings pop up on my calendar with no information about what the topic is going to be. So come in blind and then have questions thrown at me. And I wasn't always feeling confident about how I was projecting myself and my presence and my answers in that context. So I was really hoping to refine those skills as kind of off the cuff, on your feet skills.
Yeah, so it sounds like you knew you wanted some coaching and some practical skill building, but what did your mind do with the idea of doing it within like a small group environment? Was there any skepticism between the idea of doing some one-on-one stuff or this small group? Tell me about that, and then how the small group experience informed some of what you came in here wanting to work on.
Sure. The small group experience was new to me. I haven't really done anything like this before. And I wasn't sure if I was in the right position for it, if what I was looking for was a good match for what other people were looking for and what the program was about. I was really sold when we had a little quick 15-minute conversation to discuss what the program would be and what kind of skills we would be working on. And we honed in on a situation where I needed to push back on someone and disagree and think at the same time and disagree, which is a challenging thing to do. And the questions you asked me just took me from here to there in such an amazing way. And I walked out feeling so much more empowered with that kind of circumstance. I felt like I knew how to handle it going forward. And then I was really excited about your description of the other women in the group, because people were in similar places in their career, facing similar challenges. And I was really impressed with the women in the group. They were all already really developed, advanced communicators, such smart women and such capable people. And we were all kind of wanting to go from here to, dial up the skills a little bit to get to here. And it was a really incredible, supportive environment, really honest feedback, feedback about things that we couldn't see in ourselves, but delivered so gently. There was never any shaming. It was just a really beautiful, supportive environment.
So well said. Cool. And I'm curious, in that environment, tell me a little bit about the experience of both getting feedback from me or the group and also giving feedback. How did that dynamic work for you in terms of the learning environment?
Giving feedback was a really interesting part of it, actually, because watching other people answer the same prompt questions that I was preparing myself to answer or I had just answered made me think about the things that I myself do. I could see myself in them. So I feel like as I was watching someone else get coached, I was being coached at the same time. And I think receiving the feedback, I try to be really open and receptive to feedback. I think everyone wants to be receptive to feedback, right? And it's not always easy to receive feedback. In some circumstances, you kind of have to brace yourself and say, like, thank you for the learning opportunity. I never felt any of that in this program. I felt like all of the feedback was delivered with like such care and such genuine interest in moving forward together that I never had to like steel myself or, kind of buck myself up afterwards. I felt like all of the feedback made me feel better about myself rather than worse.
Oh, so glad. Yes. Good. We're doing our job as well. That's good. Well, how would you articulate what you got out of this program more than anything?
Confidence. I think now in a situation where I don't know what the topic of the meeting is going to be, I have at the ready certain phrases and certain tools for how to either buy myself a little bit of time to think or confidently say to people, that's a really interesting question, and I will follow up with you about that. And and not worrying so much about what people think about me when I deliver that message. So I feel much more confident and emboldened than I did before.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Tell me what, if any, were the major hesitations that you had to actually jumping off the cliff and enrolling in this program that you think other people might have? Like, what's keeping people sort of from saying yes or investing in themselves in that way?
So one of the hesitations I had was wondering if I was in the right place in my communication development journey, and wondering if the work that we would be doing would be almost too rudimentary. And I don't mean that to compliment myself for my communication skills, but I don't get nervous necessarily before a presentation. I've done enough public speaking that I feel pretty confident. So I didn't feel like I needed to work on some of that, like just get over the hump of being afraid of speaking to people work so if that had been the program, I think it might have not lined up with my needs exactly. So that was the major question in my mind, is the target of this program going to be at me, and is it going to be getting me where I need to be?
Yeah. And what would you say to someone with that same concern or that same worry?
I think you said this to me and it really reassured me. And so I would pass along what you said to me, which is that the majority of people coming into this program already are really advanced communicators who are already really high level and in pretty advanced, at least in my cohort, pretty advanced moments in their career, not super senior, but kind of, solid mid-level to senior people who already have kind of the pedestal under them, the work under them that they've done over the past few years. So feeling like I was among friends and in a cohort of people who are all working on the same thing really made the difference. So I would just remind people to be confident that also, Brenne, you're matching people up in the program to make sure that the cohorts are properly aligned and that people are with other people who are going to help them get where they want to go.
Yes. Okay. One last question for you. I mean, I think you answered the first part of this last question, which is, was this investment worth it? And part B would be, why is this investment, just for your personal life or your professional life? Why is investing in this kind of training and community worth it in general?
Yeah, I think this investment is entirely worth it. It's worth it in a number of ways. I think the confidence that it's given me is priceless, so that I feel like I can go into a situation with a stronger sense of myself. That is so important. I also think it's easy to forget that communication is a skill that you're working on throughout your entire life. The work is not done at the end of the program, and it's not something that we always talk about in our workplaces as a skill that needs to be continually honed, or even a skill at all, frankly. I think often people kind of think you have it or you don't. Either you communicate well or you don't, and that's, kind of your lot in life. And so it was really helpful for me to reframe it as this is a skill, just like being a good writer is a skill, just like being a good analytical thinker is a skill, being a good communicator is a skill. And I'm working on that skill just the way I would work on writing a better essay in college.
So good. Thank you so much for your time. And thanks so much for participating in this program.
Thank you.